Welcome back, boxing fans, to another great show with Sean on boxing. Obviously, we're talking about the results of today's PBC card, the upset and the victories, and making some comparisons between takes that some people on YouTube made over the recent while and how ridiculous they look in contrast to situations that obviously are unfolding before our eyes. So we'll get down to that right now. Let's just stay tuned to after these messages and we will carry on. So get back. See you in a second. Welcome back. I know for some of you this is super early in the morning or super late at night. For me, it's afternoon. So cheers. Nice. You guys ever drink this? 1664 Blanc. It's good, smooth, a white beer. But let's get to it. Machado, Olaf, Mars are in the house. These guys do not sleep. Olaf says Tszyu cried in the post-fight presser. Yeah, and I don't think that's a problem. People are going to be emotional. You put your life on the line, blood, sweat, and tears, and then to have this kind of result, nobody would have expected this. Literally, even the biggest Tszyu hater, because he's white, would never have predicted that this fighter would have beat him in such a convincing fashion. But that's boxing. Machado, salute. Mars says, what's up, Sean? The fight was crazy. Still can't believe it. Hey, man, this is what I've always said about the 154-pound division. There's a lot of good fighters, but there's no great fighters. And that's why I feel Bud Crawford is obviously going to be able to become undisputed in this division if he chooses to move in that direction. And we'll be talking about that right now. So let's get to this. So this is one of the things I saw on social media post-fight. Should Crawford fight Murtazaliev next? I feel the same way with him fighting Murtazaliev as fighting Tszyu. Of course you should. Why wouldn't you? This is a unification fight. I mean, Saudi Arabia will be more than happy to bring Murtazaliev to Saudi Arabia to make a Bud Crawford fight. Crawford's never fought in Saudi, even though he obviously has the support of the Saudis. So he's going to need to go there and showcase his ability. Why not fight in front of them against this fighter? I think who's also a Muslim. So, he'll fit right into that sort of situation, kind of like Beterbiev. And he proved himself today, right? He's obviously been a guy that's been around for a long time. But prior to today, he never had that fight to really prove how good he was. So now he has. So now a Bud Crawford fight between him would be excellent. J.A. says Bud is old. What's your point? Beterbiev was old. That didn't stop him from fighting a prime, undefeated world champion in Bivol. Like, what do you mean he's old? He just fought very well in his first fight, moving up to 154 pounds against a fighter who's a lot more difficult, I think, than Murtazaliev is. So, I think he can easily beat Murtazaliev. Not that he's not going to be a competitive fight, because I think, obviously, in your fourth weight division, everybody potentially can be a difficult fight for a smaller fighter moving up. But this is a unification fight. You beat this guy, and it opens the door for you and the winner of Spence Funduro for undisputed. And isn't that what we want? Unless you're pushing for the Canelo fight. Machado says 154 is becoming full of talent. A lot of good talent, a lot of depth. But I still say there's not a lot of greatness. Not at this point. Mars says, yep, Murtazaliev in February card in Riyadh would be lucrative for Crawford. Of course it would be. It's great. Why wouldn't you do that? You couldn't do it in the States, obviously, because Murtazaliev doesn't have much of name recognition. And that's mostly because of how the PBC fumbled his career, putting him on insignificant parts of cards, never showcasing him, even though he was Charlo's mandatory for 3 to 4 years. And all they did was duck and dodge him. I know, JB, sorry. I mean, he's so great. But the reality is the IBF never forced him to fight this guy. This guy just went on to do what Charlo didn't do, beat Tszyu. right? I literally heard JB talking about how, he was so happy that Tim Tszyu got his ass beat because of the disrespect that Charlo got, because people said that he was ducking Tim Tszyu. Well, he didn't beat Tim Tszyu, so he doesn't get credit because Tim Tszyu lost, just like he didn't get credit when Funduro beat Tim Tszyu, right? He gets zero credit, zero. The guys that get credit are Funduro and now, obviously, Murtazaliev. They get credit. Charlo still ducked him to go after a payday. And everybody realizes what he did, so nobody really hold it against him. They're like, yeah, of course you're going to take the Canelo Alvarez fight. It's a big payday. Yeah, of course. It is what it is. Nobody's hating on him because he didn't fight Tim Tszyu, but that was his mandatory. And he doesn't get credit because somebody else did his work. He could have come back since then and faced Tim Tszyu, but he hasn't. Jay says, Better BF is an anomaly. Whatever. Based on Bob Arum's interview, Turkey bosses want more fight cards in Riyadh. Looks like LA or UK-based events are over. Well, I can understand the LA card because apparently it lost millions of dollars, and the American fan base is just garbage. So why even fucking pay attention to them? I mean, just look at a lot of the comments and narratives that come from American boxing fans on my lives, and then all the YouTube channels out there that don't even talk about boxing outside of literally 4 or 5 fighters. They can continue to fucking review just to get AdSense off of their subs, right? Nobody needs to listen to fucking a new Tank Davis video every fucking day, right? But so, you can understand these are the same people that didn't support Bud Crawford's big fight card in LA, which was a fucking huge card, great card, probably the best card of 2024. But you wouldn't know that if you listen to American boxing channels. So they might as well just do it in Riyadh. You're paying for it. You might as well fucking enjoy the benefits of having it there. JB been on a meltdown like never before. The dude's always on a meltdown, accusing everyone else of being racist, yet loving the fact that Tim Tszyu just got beat. And then twisting it, talking about, I wonder if people that hated on Devin Haney are going to hate on Tim Tszyu like they did Tim Haney. Well, ironically enough, most of the people that hated on Haney are Tank Davis fans. Black Americans. And those fans never fucking talked about Tim Tszyu, never rated Tim Tszyu, fucking always diminished him because he's white. So of course they're not going to say anything positive about Tim Tszyu because they never did. Right? You can just see the build up to this PBC card. This is the first PBC card that was free. Yet nobody was talking about it all week. So for people acting like somehow Tim Tszyu was being hyped up and pushed because he was white, I don't see who was doing that. Tim Tszyu was who he was, a solid fighter, but he'd not proven that he was great. And this fight today just showed you the competitiveness of this division. Mexican boxing fan says, didn't Jermell become undisputed? I didn't know Jermell was obligated to fight Tim Tszyu. Yes, Tim Tszyu was his WBO mandatory, and he took a pay off to skip that fight so that Charlo could fight Castano to become undisputed. And then he was supposed to fight him, obviously, in his first defense, but he chose to not do that, move up and fight Canelo. Jermell was undisputed, unlike GGG. What does that mean? GGG, at least people think he beat Canelo the first time they fought. Not like Charlo, who ran like a bitch and fucking didn't represent. This was a guy people literally pushed for years, him and his brother and Andrade, that were going to expose Golovkin. And Golovkin was afraid of them, just like Canelo was afraid of them, only to have him fight Canelo. And then people say, Canelo's too big. I mean, stop the cap. What's the best win on Charlo's resume? The guy's got 2 losses on his resume, right? What's the best win on his resume? Let's just fucking talk about that. Did you see Fannin talk about you the other day? Fannin talked about me? Really? What did Fannin have to say about me? Fannin stopped talking about me fucking probably 2 months after he opened his channel, and he blocked me because I exposed all his fucking narratives consistently. JB is a clown making a video rant about Junto over Devin Haney. when he put Tank over Canelo on his pound for pound list. Exactly. I mean, we understand why Devin Haney is not on the list or at the bottom because of his performance against Garcia. Sure, it's been retroactively changed, but still, we still saw him get his ass beat, get hit consistently by left hands, and get dropped. So it's hard to now rate him pound for pound number 2 like JB once had him. Even he has him down on his list. So what does that tell you? Oh my God, is this a race baiting channel? Who are you talking about exactly when you refer to Americans? Americans. Come on, Mexican. You fucking are American. So you see fucking the narratives and stuff that goes on in American YouTube channels throughout the fucking country. You see how little push that card in California that Bud Crawford was on and how much money it lost fucking got. Americans are not supporting boxing. So when they complain and moan about it, the only people that have to be accountable are themselves, because they're the ones that are fucking ruining the sport in America, not supporting it, not buying pay-per-views, not talking about the sport. You only support Mexicans, so you're half the problem, because you literally only support fighters that look like you. So is that any different than the LDBC, who only supports black fighters? Right? You can support your own. I have no problem with that. But why do we always have to hate on the others? Coming off of 16-month layoff, a hand injury, and moving up 2 weight classes. So, Jay, you're making excuses for Charlo. So what? What's Charlo been doing? How come he hasn't come back and ordered a Bud Crawford fucking fight? Right? Like, it's easy to make excuses, but that guy's got 2 losses in his resume. He lost to Castano the first time, and he lost to Tony Harrison. Neither of those fighters are great. Neither are great. His brother was always supposed to be the better Charlo. You know that, and I know that. So let's keep it real. The reason he was able to become undisputed is because the PBC controlled all the belts. So, of course, it fell into his lap easily. And it still took him a fucking shitload of opportunities to do it, because he basically lost 2 fights in the process. What's GG's best win? Danny Jacobs is better than any fucking win on Charlo's resume. Sorry. This has nothing to do with Golovkin. He's a retired fighter. Why you guys always make it racial by then pointing to a white fighter? You're no different than JB, JA and JB. You're the A and B of fucking racial hate on YouTube. Golovkin has to be one of the most avoided fighters in years. You can't tell people that, though, right? They will talk about how fucking Rigo was ducked and dodged by Al Heyman fighters, right? And they won't blame Al Heyman for having his fighters duck Rigo. But then when they talk about Golovkin, all of a sudden they go mum on fucking all the fighters that ducked and dodged him. And they go, why didn't he fight Andre Ward? When was Andre Ward a fucking middleweight champion? Laura didn't avoid him. Yeah, Laura did. What do you mean he didn't? When did he move to 160? He didn't avoid him. He capped for him, fucking called out his name, but never moved up to 160 pounds. Come on. She was the one who didn't take the fight. Take the fight with a 154-pounder when he was trying to become undisputed. See, once again, you expose yourself. See, you know how easy it is to show that you're full of shit? Because at 154 pounds, you had Charlo, Lara, Andrade. All fighters that Golovkin was afraid of. All fighters that Canelo was ducking, right? That's what you said and everybody else said. Yet these fighters never fucking unified against each other. Not one of them had the balls to take a fucking risk to fight each other to become unified champion and the king of that division. Not one of them. You know who did it? Fucking Jared Hurd. Jared Hurd is the guy that started to bring that division together. And thanks to him, he allowed Charlo to become undisputed. Because if it was left to Charlo's own device, he probably never would have fucking unified. He knew that style would cause him big issues. What style? Running, ducking? Yeah, that's going to cause him big trouble. Sorry, my man. I can't support a black-hating channel. I actually kick it with black people here in Texas. They are cool peeps. Yet, literally, you've come on this channel and literally hate on black fighters consistently. So what are you talking about? And who's hating blacks? What I'm saying is Americans. You're American. Mexican-American who only fanboys for Mexican fighters. So what are you talking about? Putting into context, buddy. You see Ring IQ live. He talked a lot about Tim screw his career over by getting in bed with the BBC. Well, that's what he did, right? And he just did that recently when he said that he wasn't going to sell his soul to fucking fight with Turki Al Sheikh. Well, you sold your soul to Al Heyman. And how did that work out for you? He got you beat by a replacement opponent by fucking doing the whole Keith Thurman fight, which should have never happened anyway, and then throws you into this fight because Erickson Lubin ducked you. And here you are right now in a position. You're still young. You can still bounce back. But obviously now you need to bounce back because you were close to making big money, and now you slide all the way back to 10 on the 154-pound rankings. Was he not coming off a 16-month layoff, hand injury? These are fun facts. Nobody told Charlo to go up and cash out against fucking Canelo. Nobody ever was forcing that fight. Nobody was pushing that fight. Nobody was asking for that fight. He did it because he wanted to cash out. Al Heyman wanted to do it because he knew the PBC would make money off of the Canelo pay-per-view. So what are you talking about? You can throw out all the facts you want, but no fucking buddy asked for that fight. The fight people expected him to take was the Tim Tszyu fight. Oh my God, who are you talking about? I'm confused. Who are they? I'm new here. Who are they? You. That's who. You. That's who they are. Americans. You. Who are they? See, you're not new here. You've been on the channel. I've seen statements you make consistently. So based on what you're saying now, it makes me question if you're really who you say you are. Sturm, Solomon, BJ, Quillen, etc. all avoided GG. Yeah, there's like 10 fighters that fucking avoided him. Pavlik, fucking, the list is long. And then, of course, the one guy that beat Danny Jacobs who hurt his back and that fight fell through. Andy Lee, because, of course, Golovkin's father died and that fight fell through. There was a ton of middleweight unification fights and champions he could have fought. But the problem was he was too dangerous and they didn't want him until he was older. And that's when they chose to jump up and fight him. Mexican boxing, no matches. Garden snake mentality. Tim Tszyu got absolutely embarrassed. How does he come back from that with such a bad team around him? Well, that's the thing. He should have listened to his dad, because the week of this fight card, his dad was saying, don't fight fucking the Russian fighters. Don't fight the Russian fighters, right? His dad literally was saying that to him. And his statement proves prophetic, because that Russian fighter kicked his ass, whether he was looking past him, overlooking him, looking for a potential Ortiz fight or a Bud Crawford fight, whatever it might have been. The fact is he screwed himself, right? And it didn't work out so well. Viva Mexico. Viva Mexico. I got nothing wrong, no problem with Mexico. PBC didn't tell Tim to forget his jab, footwork, and defense at home. He had plenty of time off. Sure he did. Nobody's defending Tim Tszyu. I didn't even know Tim is fighting. I watched some local MMA. I knew he was fighting, but that's what I'm saying. With the American YouTubers, they weren't really talking about this PBC fight because they love the PBC, but yet for some reason this fight wasn't really talked about, and this was the only free one the PBC had given them, right? Yet this fight was ignored. Why? Well, because Tim Tszyu was fighting some Russian fighter who people downplay and overlook. Obviously, we know why they do that, because he's white. So obviously he's garbage and he's no good, and there's no point fucking even worrying about him. So that's the way it goes. But how did that work out for Tim? Not so well. And the irony is, when I turned the fight on, it was already over. I can't believe the card started so early. Usually the fight cards always start later, right? Don't finish until like 12, almost 1 o'clock. This one was over before 10:30. Tim should have parted ways with PBC, pulled the old switcheroo with Thurman injury, and replaced the 6'5" giant southpaw on week's notice. The fix was in, for sure. Tim, lack of boxing IQ and inability to make any adjustments, just like the Funduro, is very concerning, especially being 30 years old. That's a fact. He consistently got hit by that left hand. Short left hand consistently hit him. It's like, what? You didn't fucking see you got hit the first time? You didn't see how this guy fights? Why are you not fucking protecting yourself from his left hand? Did O'Hara Davis look good? I thought O'Hara Davis got beat, right? So I don't know how good he looked. I heard Yard looked very mediocre. I saw he won a decision, right? Obviously, those cards happened early in the morning, so I didn't watch them. But when I saw it went decision, I sort of figured it was mediocre, right? Because that's not what they're looking for. They're looking for him to make a statement so they can sell him on Sky Sports, right? But you come in against a no-name fighter that's a gift, basically layup opponent, and then you go the distance with him. That don't look good. Should Tim move to middleweight or wait to see how 154 plays out? Well, if he moves to 160, is he going to do any better against guys like Shiraz, Adamas, Charlo, who's more likely to go to 160 than 154, Janabek, right? Is he going to beat those fighters? Fucking Lara, 40-year-old fucking Lara. Like, does he have a chance? At least at 154, as I said, there's no elite fighters outside of Bud Crawford. So in truth, there's a lot of opponents he can beat and a lot of opponents that can beat him. They just need to do a better job picking their opponents. Tszyu got hit over and over by that left hand like Haney, but in doubt, he will sue. He should sue because, that was assault. And he definitely should sue fucking Murtazaliev for fucking assaulting him. Laura puts the beats on Tim. I think so. Have you been to Dallas? You should come out here and have a drink with us Americans. Hey, on a personal level, I have no problem with Americans. We're talking about boxing fans here. I like Americans. Very friendly. Nice. I always enjoy going to the States. But when we're talking about boxing fans, when JB says boxing fans are the worst and other people say that, there's a lot of truth to it, right? The reason the boxing community is so toxic is because of the fan base is on it, right? And the ridiculous narratives, blatant lies, and fucking, what do you call it? Identity politics that consistently get played. Like, it's fucking worse than Washington, D.C. fucking on these streets. Yup, Tim need to hire Haney's lawyer. That's battery, man. Yeah, fucking assault and battery. Tim better do something quick. Get himself a good lawyer. JB sounds like a rapper. Well, here we go. So this is what Terrence Crawford says. It's over for Tim Tszyu. It's unfortunate, though, because that would have been a big money fight for Bud Crawford if Tim Tszyu had won that IBF title. Against Murtazaliev, it's definitely not going to be nearly as big because people can't even say the guy's name. That's never a positive when we're talking about boxing, when you can't pronounce a fighter's name. It's like talking about Thai fighters, right? You can't really fanboy them too much because you can't actually pronounce their names. So it's much better when they just call themselves after the gym. Boxing Kingdom, what did he say? Murtazaliev just announced himself to the world. That was a devastating performance. Enormous courage by Tim Tszyu. Murtazaliev moves to 23-0. Must be CTV. Stunning. And then, of course, Shakur. I don't know how Shakur keeps capping fucking on social media, hyping himself at the expense of everyone else that's actually in the ring doing it. Everything in God's hands. Thank you for everything. What the fuck, man? Is the guy going through midlife crisis already at like 26 years of age? Then here, what did Sergio Mora say? Tim Tszyu coming off a tough split decision loss against a 6'6" southpaw with an 80-inch reach. And what does he do next? Decide to fight a strong, undefeated Russian champion. See, I don't understand Sergio Mora, who pretends to be a boxing analyst. He faced a guy in Murtazaliev who just fought Jack Kalke, a German fighter, a small German fighter. And Kalke was beating Murtazaliev's ass in that fight until his engine fucking gassed out because he's pretty old as well, and then got stopped late in that fight. So going into that fight, you had every reason to expect that Tim Tszyu had everything he needed to beat Murtazaliev. Dan Canobia says, Tales is knocking on the door for the top 10 at 154. Very talented, calculated finisher. Good fighter. I've been talking about him for a long time already, and we're going to be talking about him a little more today as well. Crawford says, this is why you can't listen to these fans. They don't know boxing at all. Just because you never heard of a fighter doesn't mean he's a bum. Now everyone is high on Murtazaliev. You'll need to stop downing fighters just because you don't pay attention to them. See, that's a special shout out to JB and a lot of these American YouTubers, right? Who basically shit on fighters because they don't know who they are. And all they do is fanboy American fighters or fighters that are based and fight in the States. So, of course, they're more aware of who they are. They've heard their names, they're familiar with them. But then they don't have the same fucking praise for these other fighters because they fight in Japan, Russia, Europe, South America. I don't know who they are. I don't know who the fighters they fight are. Well, that's because you're ignorant. It has nothing to do with the fighters. It's just because you're fucking ignorant. If you weren't so ignorant, that wouldn't be a problem. You'd appreciate boxers from all around the world, right? That's what Murtazaliev proved today. Don't fucking underestimate a fucker, right? You never know who this dude is until you step in the ring with him. These guys are all professionals, and we know these Eastern Europeans, whether they have the athletic ability or not, they fucking got the mental and the heart. Yard was dreadful. There you go. Big Dosser breaking it down for you. JB is not a rapper. He's a blues singer, always whining. Fucking perfect analogy. Perfect analogy, Machado. I don't like Terence Crawford. He's overrated. Yeah, I know. You said that consistently. Yet you're saying, who? Who? The Latin Snake is a solid dude. There you go. I fanboy for Bam and Canelo. And why do you fanboy? I like Canelo, but I'm honest enough to say that Canelo should avoid better BF. I like Bam, but I also am honest enough to say that Bam could have fought Junto Nakatani, but him and his team chose to avoid that fight, right? This is not me hating. This is me using boxing intelligence, knowing what goes on in the sport, following the sport, and giving an honest opinion, as opposed to fanboying, lying, and talking out my ass. Nice. So let's go to the next one. So there we go. Murtazaliev, the winner. I hope Bud Crawford fights him next. I mean, Mexican boxing is the best, says Crawford's overrated. JA also says Crawford is old, right? So these guys don't really give much respect to Bud Crawford. But here's an opportunity for Crawford to fight this guy. If he beats him, he ain't going to get any praise. He's not going to get fucking a lot of hype from Errol Spence fanboys who've been hating on him for like fucking 5 years or 6 years now. The reality is, Bud Crawford, doesn't matter who he fights next. Even if he fights Canelo Alvarez, people are going to say, oh, Canelo's old. He wasn't what he once was, right? There's always going to be an excuse to criticize and hate on a fighter. We see it all the time. We see it now with Inoue. We see it with Junto Nakatani. We consistently hear it about Bud Crawford, right? People said he lost to fucking Madrimov, right? And he lost to Madrimov, who only had 10 professional fights. Once again, people showing you their fucking ignorance. And that's the thing. If you don't fucking follow the sport and you only follow a fucking few YouTubers and that's where you find your information from, then shut the fuck up, don't talk, listen, and actually learn something. Hard Recoil says Crawford is the only American fighter that isn't overrated, or in other words, he is the least overrated U.S. fighter. He's the only one fucking doing what people should do, right? So whether you like him or not, at least you can't criticize what he's doing. He's doing exactly what great fighters do. Canelo is Mexican, Sean. We Mexicans stick with our fighters. Yeah, and that's great. You should stick with your fighters. But it doesn't mean you fucking need to be delusional. I stick with fighters I like too, but I'm not delusional. I'm not lying and fucking talking loads of bullshit just to fucking spew nonsense because I support a fighter. That's the difference. I have no problem with people supporting their fighters. That's expected. That's what I expect people to do. I expect Mexicans to support Canelo. Ironically enough, you make this statement, but back in the day, Mexicans didn't support Canelo. They supported fucking Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. He was more loved and supported than Canelo Alvarez was, right? So explain that to me. We support our own. You didn't support Canelo. Not until fucking afterwards. Maybe because he looks Irish. I don't know what it is. Mara says, yeah, I want Bam to unify or move up. Kid got great talent and he can make real money fighting in Japan. You see that he was just sparring with Boots Ennis? That was interesting, right? If you could spar with Boots Ennis, you know, then you should have no problem with the Junto fucking Nakatani. Let's just put it that way, right? Because Boots is fucking a harder puncher. He's taller. He's longer. I would say he's probably faster. He got everything. So there should be no reason for him not to fight a Junto Nakatani. I actually met Errol Spence. He's very humble. Oh, he seems like a humble dude. I got nothing negative to say about Spence himself. It's the Spence fanboys, the Bud Crawford haters who only hated him because they were so fucking in bed with Errol Spence, right? These guys fucking acted as Errol Spence almost killing himself in a car crash wouldn't have long-term detrimental effects on him. And when we said that, then they fucking called us racist and hated on us pointing out a fucking a normal fucking fact, only for him to then get beat down by Bud Crawford and now pull that out of their bag and say, oh, it's because of that car crash. Well, yeah, we fucking said that years ago. That's why you shouldn't have ducked his ass. You should have fought him, because you never know what's going to happen in your life, in your career. You jump when the fucking grease is hot. You don't fucking wait and wait and wait. You're no fucking Floyd Mayweather. Bam would expose Nakatani. Yeah, Jay, you don't even know who either of those fighters are, so shut up. You never watched either of them fight, so stop. What do you know? Nobody listens to anything you say and takes it fucking serious. Do you think me having Tank ninth on the pound for pound is too high? I have to be honest. I hate his resume, but I love his style. I agree with you. I love Tank Davis, but my criticism is his resume. I think I have him number 7, so I have him higher on my pound for pound list than you. But I think if you have him in the bottom half of the top 5 from 6 to 10, it's fair. I mean, people that get, like John was getting so pissed off because Nakatani was ranked ahead of Devin Haney. I mean, Devin Haney could be right off the list and Shakur could be in his position, or Lomachenko could be on his position, right? They actually are coming off of wins, right? Not getting dropped multiple times by a fighter that was apparently garbage and didn't deserve the fight. Why am I being attacked for honesty? What did you say, Mexican that was honest? Bud hasn't put hands on him. Bam. I don't even know what you're saying. Bam has moved up and down and all around avoiding Junto. That's a fact. When Junto was at 112, he did what Inoue did. He skipped over 112 to fucking avoid the king of the division, which was Junto. And of course, Inoue did that to avoid Roman Gonzalez, only to win a fight at 115. Then once that fighter moved up to 115, where now you could fight him in unification, you moved down to the weight class he once was in to win the title he had, but gave up because he moved up to challenge you. And then he moves up to 118. You move back up to 115. I mean, that's the fucking worst look I've ever seen. And I love Bam. He's like right up there with Tank Davis on my list. So I have them very similar. But again, he looked like he don't want smoke with fucking that guy. You catch the Skull Shishkin fight. Skull looks one-dimensional with his jab and clinch style. I think the top guys like Munguia, Plant, Pacheco would beat him. So William Skull, that fight already happened. William Skull won, beat Shishkin. I didn't see it. I didn't even know that fight was happening. I knew that he was mandated to fight, but I didn't know when it was happening. Maybe Berlanga too. I watched both of them. Nakatani looks good against these Asians. The real test is when you get these against solid Mexican fighters. The stupidity from guys like you is that unlike most Japanese fighters, a lot of the hate and narratives that JB and others push towards Inoue is Junto don't live and fight and train in Japan. He lives in California. He trains in California. He spars Mexican fighters every single fucking day. That's what he does. He only fights these Asian fighters when he goes into fucking world title fights and fights the top contenders or mandatories that are pushed in front of him, because there's no Mexican good enough to be in that position. Sorry. If there was, they would be ranked number 1. I'm Mexican and support my fighters, but I ain't colorblind to talent. A big fan of them Russians and Ukrainians. I don't understand how people, like I say, I expect Black Americans to support Black Americans, Africans to support Africans, Mexicans to support Mexicans, Puerto Ricans to support Puerto Ricans, Russians to support Russians, fucking Japanese to support Japanese, Filipinos to support Filipinos. I expect that. It's to be expected. You're going to support your own. That goes without saying. We don't need to fucking focus on that. We don't need to point that out. Everybody knows that's the norm. It's 100% normal. The difference is just because you support your own doesn't mean you have to fucking shit on everybody else. That's the problem. Hopefully Canelo picks a juicy cherry like William Skull or Eubanks Jr. next. Nobody wants to see fucking William Skull, but Eubanks in England, that fight sells. They said potentially maybe Canelo Alvarez will fight William Skull in Japan because obviously he was just in Japan recently. Team needs a year off. Got his chin cracked. I don't know about a year off. He needs to get in there with a not great opponent to get his confidence back and get a victory. Usyk, Bud, Inoue, better BF, Bivol, Canelo, Bam is my big seven. Who are you taking out for a tank? Well, as I said, I have Bam and Tank basically the same. So you could put Tank in front of Bam or you could put Bam in front of Tank. The only reason I would put Tank in front of Bam is just because I've seen more of him and he's been around longer. Uh, and, you know, for Bam, obviously I've been super impressed by his performances, especially his unification fight and then his fight against Estrada. Fuck, man. See, literally, I guess you got to put Bam probably ahead of Tank Davis because his victory against Estrada is way better than any fucking victory Tank Davis has. So if we want to be honest, I guess you'd have to put Tank Davis at number 7 behind Bam. And then under that, you have Junto Nakatani, Haney, Shakur, Lomachenko, Ken Shiro. And you could put those five fighters in, you know, maybe even Tszyu, even though what he's doing to his career makes me not even want to fucking talk about him. But, you know, like I always say, there's probably 6 to 8 fighters you could put at that bottom, depending on what you like, what you support. I ain't hating on Haney. I mean, Haney's done great things and I support him for what he's done, but I still can't get that ass whipping out of my head. And no matter what people say, you know, you saw it. It's there. So you can't get it out. I understand why Haney thinks that he lost money because of that, because he did. So the fact he's suing, I can understand that because financially his career did take a fucking ass whooping by getting his ass whooped by Ryan Garcia. Because Ryan Garcia can easily jump into another huge fucking pay-per-view. Devin Haney can't. Unless it's against Ryan Garcia, nobody's paying that guy fucking huge cash to fight anybody. Literally. Who's he going to fight? Tszyu, I don't know if those two fighters would make $5 million each. I'm just saying. Skull did win today. Okay. I was hoping that fucking Shishkin would beat him. Are you a Canelo stan? I hope not. There's no reason, Joseph, not to be a fan of Canelo. Canelo has the best resume in boxing. He's done fucking Hall of Fame things in his career, right? So Skull won a boring UD, which of course we knew he was going to do, which is why nobody wanted to see him be fucking an IBF mandatory. The IBF boycott those motherfuckers. Francis Ngannou fought as well in MMA. I watched those highlights. Yeah, it's good to see him get back to the MMA and get a win. Skull got a hometown decision. Mars box. Oh, that sounds exactly like Skull. I am Joseph. I think Bam, slick Mexican style, will be too much for the Japanese fighter. Hey, Bam is great. So I would not fucking say he could not beat Junto Nakatani. But the difference between Junto and every other fighter that he's faced, Junto is bigger than Bam, longer than Bam, about the same age as Bam, hits as hard, if not harder than Bam, is going to be able to control range far better than any fighter that Bam fought. Everyone Bam fought was smaller than him. Everybody. Even the guys he went up and faced in Estrada, Quadras, Rungvisai, and Quadras, right? So it's not like he's fighting bigger fighters. If he fights Junto, he's going to be fighting a taller, longer, dangerous fighter. But as I said, it's a great fight. I'd be super stoked if that fight happened, and it's a real 50-50 matchup. I don't believe Machado, or he's not a real Mexican. Canelo stops Skull. Fuck, of course he does. There's no question. Who wants to see that? Skull probably wouldn't last 8 rounds with fucking Canelo Alvarez. Canelo called out Beterbiev, then tucked his tail. J.A., no matter how much you hate on Canelo, there's no fighter you like who's done more than him. So that must be difficult for you, I know. I think so. Skull was bothered by Shishkin's body shots and 1-2 combinations. Skull was lunging a lot with his jab. Canelo would counter him. I'm not surprised. Canelo fans said Bivol ducked him for the rematch. I didn't hear fucking anyone say that Bivol ducked Canelo to fight fucking for Undisputed, but okay. When really did Bivol just wanted the fight at 168? Well, but I understand Canelo wanted to fight at 175. Why would you fight at 168? If you beat Bivol in the rematch, you're going to get ripped and fucking torn to shreds for pulling Bivol down in weight by guys like you, who would have done exactly that. The guy who said, oh, fucking Charlo went up 2 weight divisions to fight him. No one fucking asked him to fight him. Usyk, Crawford, and Bam, Tszyu got great resumes too. Well, Crawford's resume is Usyk's resume is great. Bam's resume is, come on, let's not overreact. You beat fucking 3 40-year-olds. I mean, name recognition is great, but you didn't beat anyone outside of fucking a smaller fighter in his prime. Tszyu, 2 good wins. 2 good wins and a loss to fucking a mediocre fighter. Drunk Irishman's in the house. Carlos Ojai Davis said he's retired now. He should retire. Top Rank should invest Munguia versus Skull in Vegas and fight Billy after. That'd be a smart move. Machado, pads, right time for him to retire. It is. So today I saw a video from JB hyping up Tellez, the 154-pound fighter. I have to remind you, Tellez is not a black American. He's a Cuban. So, we got to keep that cool. Tellez is a great fighter who I've fanboyed on my channel a lot, talking about him, Morel, what's his face, Iglesias, right, the other Cuban fighter at 168, and another 140, 47, 35-pound Cuban. So I've been really talking about how this new generation of Cuban fighters really are a lot better than the fighters from the past, far more marketable, far more entertaining. So, of course, JB jumped on this to push his normal racial agenda and is hyping up Tellez's fight versus, of course, Johan Gonzalez, 35-3 with 34 KOs, only 1 loss. Basically, his resume is no different than Junto Nakatani's Thai fighter. Thailand and Venezuela, these fighters historically fucking have bloated fucking resumes against bum-ass opponents, right? But yet he's willing to look past that for Tellez, to try to fanboy for him and hype up this guy Gonzalez. Whereas what did he do with fucking the Thai fighter that Junto fought? He made 5 videos trying to find ways to shit on Junto Nakatani and discredit him, even though that's not the only fighter Junto fought. Junto fought 7 world champions on his resume. Tellez at this point has never faced any world champions. And sure, he's young, but we'll get to that in a minute. I just saw a stupid comment, so let's follow that. Are you black and brown? Cool, Sean. I'm usually over on his channel. Does he still have a channel? I haven't seen his videos pop up in my feed for a while. Contender, I believe. Do you see Liam Paro getting beat by Hitchens in Puerto Rico? Opataya is the best Australian. That's for sure. I kind of lean towards Hitchens to beat Paro, but to be fair, I've always picked against Paro, and every single time I've been wrong. So, what does that say? I mean, I know I should support him because I'm white and he's white and I'm a racist, so I should support the white guy. But for some reason, I've always betted against him, and every single time he's proven me fucking incorrect. So, maybe he'll do it this time against Hitchens, but I still favor Hitchens to beat him. Xander Zayas versus Tim Tszyu. Who would you pick right now? Xander Zayas. Black and brown is a cool guy. I remember Canelo going life and death with Larry Mosley. All of a sudden, he can chin Kovalev. Very suspicious. Very suspicious. Of course, his body didn't develop, right? O'Hari was that bad? Damn, I'll have to check that out. I guess they could do Mimbili versus Skull in Quebec City. They draw a good crowd at the Videotron Arena. Who's Larry Mosley? Watch the fight when you get a chance. Canelo fought Larry at like 16 years old, bro. That's my point. Uh, how are you going to compare that to a 28-year-old Nello? Chili Primo on that racist stuff. Well, that's the problem with that kind of fucking bullshit narratives, right? People are always going to find ways to hate on somebody, right? Oh, Canelo's on roids, and when he fought a guy at 16 years old, he didn't look that good. Well, Manny Pacquiao got knocked out when he was 16 years old by body shots because he was a kid who was draining himself in weight, still hadn't matured, right? You know, people are so quick to find ways to hate on people. Kovalev less on a rehydration clause and come off a war with Yard. JA, Canelo jumped up 2 weight divisions, was coming off a hand injury and 16 months of inactivity. And Canelo always gives his opponents short camps. You know, you're fucking a clown, buddy. It's ridiculous, your hate for Canelo. Yet still, you can't tell me a fighter you like who's done more in the game of boxing than him. You Canelo fans love moving the goalposts. Joseph, who's moving the goalposts? What fighter do you like that's done as much as Canelo? Leave it in the comment section. It'll only take me a fucking 30 seconds to debunk it because there's no one you like who's done anything close to Canelo Alvarez. So your hostility is what? This or fanboy love for a fighter that just isn't what you wish he would be? I'm telling you to chill, my boy. You talk a lot about race. Mexican, you talking about me? Or are you talking about the people hating on Canelo Alvarez? If you don't like it, you can fuck off. It's okay. Bye. Sayonara. Because I noticed today you're fucking really being weird. JA is on one. He's always on one. JA consistently pushing the same old shit. I gave you plenty of names already, Sean. Who? Uh, fuck off. You come here pushing your fucking racial Mexican stuff, anti fucking Bud Crawford black bullshit, and then consistently fucking open your yap. Go back to Black and Brown's channel then. Nobody needs you here. Again, I said these things about Floyd. You agree with me? Say what things with Floyd? See, the difference is you would also call Floyd an all-time great, yet all you do is fucking hate on Canelo. To fanboy 2 fighters who haven't done as much as him. Mexican boxing, go tell JB to chill on race. I like you, Sean, but I agree to disagree on Simon, bro. Yeah, you can disagree, but still you haven't told me what fighter has done more in boxing than him. At this point, he doesn't need to fight anymore. He's done. He's a 4-weight world champion who's the first guy to become undisputed at 168. Not Roy Jones, not James Toney, not Carl Froch, not Calzaghe, not fucking Andre Ward, not fucking Ben, Eubanks, or any other ones. Canelo. Floyd Mayweather never did that. Floyd never unified any fucking division in his whole fucking life. Right? So does Canelo often do things that benefit him? Yeah, just like every single fucking A-side fighter in boxing history. Should we go back to fucking Sugar Ray Leonard, who I was a huge fan of, who fucking used rehydration clause and fucking shit consistently? Come on, let's be fucking honest. The problem is you guys just can't be honest. We're not even talking about fucking Canelo, but this is what you're, again, fucking flooding my comment section about Canelo. Stay on topic, man, because you just exposed your fucking irrational hate towards a fighter. Whenever I said Floyd's an all-time great, well, then you're full of shit because he is. They still love bringing up Floyd. I know. Retired fighter. He's better than Canelo for sure, though. Well, he beat fucking Canelo. So you're not really going out on a fucking limb for that, are ya? Floyd never became undisputed. Fucking get your fucking... You know what I mean. So stop. What's wrong with you? Why are you always coming here hating on Canelo when the topic of conversation has nothing to do with Canelo. You don't see Canelo's name or face in anything here. It's always back to Floyd or else fails. Because that's the only fighter guys like him can fucking consistently go back to. Take more clenbuterol, fight more fighters on rehydration clause and criteria are going. See, again, Joseph, you still haven't said a fighter you like who's done more. You're just spitting out bullshit anti-Canelo Alvarez shit. That's fine. You don't like Canelo. Okay, Canelo Alvarez. Point is, though, Canelo would not get undisputed in the Froch Ward era. Really? Why? Froch was never considered a great fighter. Slow as fuck. Only thing he had was power and a chin. Terrible footwork, right? Like, nobody fucking thought Froch was better than Calzaghe. Only Froch thought that. And that was obviously shown when he got beat, obviously, by, no, nobody wants to listen to you fucking talk about Canelo Alvarez, because that's not the topic of conversation. Floyd fought in Nevada only for his IV usage and xylocaine. He can all bring up, exactly, that's exactly what he did. We all know why he fought in Vegas, so he could put xylocaine in his hands and consistently fight his career, because he couldn't have done it in other states. How do you weigh who has the best at 168? Yes, Canelo was undisputed. The others have better wins in the division, like Roy over Tony, Ward over Froch. Are those better wins? Why are those better wins, Garden Snake? What did James Toney ever do at 168? And what's Froch done at 168 more than Canelo Alvarez? Beat George Groves? Beat fucking some unknown fucking European dude who only is known because he fought Calzaghe and got beat by Calzaghe? Or because he beat who? Like, he doesn't have a great resume full of fucking elite names on his resume. And Ward, what did Ward do? He fought 2 or 3 guys on the Super 6 and then went on to fucking do nothing until he fought Kovalev and was gifted a decision in the first fight. Canelo had to beat Smith, Plant, and Billy Joe Saunders to get undisputed. Big whoop. Big whoop. Callum Smith, a guy who beat George Groves, the same guy that Froch is getting hyped for. Caleb Plant, a guy that was on the pound-for-pound list for most fucking American YouTubers because he was the best guy at 168, better than David Benavidez. And Billy Joe Saunders, who's a 2-weight world champion. Like, what do you mean big whoop? Like, this is the problem with people like you. You're more than happy to fanboy somebody's win, only to criticize and hate on other people's. Canelo fought Miguel Cotto for a 160 title at 155 catchweight. Yeah, Sugar Ray Leonard fought Donnie Lalonde at a fucking catchweight to win the super middleweight and light heavyweight world titles to become a 5-weight world champion. Joseph, what's your fucking point? Like, what's your point? Like, we're moving on the topic. If you guys just want to dwell on Canelo, I'm just going to fucking block you all, and then I'll move on and keep doing what I'm doing. 55 catchweight was demanded by Cotto. Of course it was. He's the guy that said he wasn't a middleweight and couldn't fight Golovkin and wanted the fucking Canelo Alvarez fight and was really the A-side in the negotiation. But these fucking Canelo haters don't fucking even get that because they're so out of fucking touch with reality. I think Tony beat Barkley at 168. Once again, Iran Barkley. The only good win on his resume was fucking a blown up fucking shot Tommy Hearns, right? Like, he was never a fucking elite superstar fucking fighter. The guy had no defense, got hit fucking by every punch somebody threw at him. You think he's better than Callum Smith, Plant, and Billy Joe Saunders? Like, Plant and Saunders are skilled fighters, right? And I guess if they were Black American, we would be talking about how they were fucking robbed and cheated because they were so slick that they should never have fucking lost to Canelo. Kind of like we say with Laura. Rocky Fielding, Abby. So, Joseph, you can name 2 lesser opponents that Canelo fought. I can do the same for fucking Roy Jones. Probably 6 or 7 or 8 fighters Roy Jones fought that were no better than Fielding or Yildirim. So, once again, what's your point? Your stupidity only exposes you. Because literally, these are the 2 names you can name. And that's all you can do. Congratulations. Out of 60 fights, you can name 2 fighters that were cherry picks. When it don't go that way, it's shit on Canelo or praise Floyd. Exactly. You think Tszyu can recover from this? What did Sanders do at 168? I give Barkley credit because he beat Hearns twice. Hearns, who was shot and never fucking should have been fighting at that weight division, right? Come on. Hearns had no legs. He was like Deontay Wilder at that point of his career. Done. Fucking guy was walking on fucking ice skates. First time he got chin checked, he was done. Fucking legs all over the place like Bambi on fucking ice skates. That was the problem with him. But let's move through to my point. So then we get to this guy. And I point this out because JB shit on Xander Zayas. And he was praising Teles because Teles is young. Xander Zayas is younger. And if you look at his resume, he fought an ex-world champion. Right? A younger fighter fought ex-world champions, is higher ranked, but Teles is getting hyped because he's the right color. Right? These two fighters, both younger, both highly fucking revered up-and-comers, one French, one Irish fighter. Both young, right? But you think these guys are going to get that much attention? Of course not, because they don't fit the narrative. All this is because he wanted to hate on this guy, Junta Nakatani. Junta Nakatani, who you can see by this statement right here, is in line for a fucking Inoue super fight. I don't understand how you're going to hate on a guy who's chasing a pound-for-pound fighter in a super fight. It's the same as people that hated on Bud Crawford, right? Because he was chasing Errol Spence. How are you going to hate on Bud Crawford for chasing Undisputed with fucking the unified champion of the division? It's like hating on Bivol for chasing Beterbiev. It makes no sense at all. And this is the same with Junto. This guy literally is fucking chasing the best fighter, one of the best fighters in boxing. Yet he's being criticized because he fought an opponent that was mandated who had less than a stellar resume. You know, this is the problem with you fucking guys in the chat section talking out your ass and these guys on YouTube who fucking consistently are pushing fucking narratives consistently, day after day after day. Like Tszyu lost. Okay, let's praise Akram Murtazaliev, right, for doing exactly what he should have done. And now let's see what he does and goes after a Bud Crawford unification fight. Let's see if Crawford challenges him, right? Because this is what we want, fighters to fight. And then we'll find out how good they are and who's the best, right? Like, I don't understand all this narrative and this hate and this fucking histrionics that people are pushing. You don't want people to fight? Let's just push guys to fight. And then the rest of this is fucking hot air can disappear. Sean, what's your opinion on Tank versus Roach? I don't mind Tank fighting Roach. The problem is this is the same old shit he always does. A typical in-house PBC opponent being pulled up in weight. This is the 5th or 6th fighter that Tank Davis pulled up in his career. Lomachenko pulled up one fighter, Mariaga, right, who was a replacement for Salido and was fucking roasted and ridiculed. And then, of course, Rigo, who called him out, went up 2 weight divisions. And then people act like Lomachenko forced Rigo to fucking fight him. No, he wasn't even calling him out. He wasn't even looking towards Rigo. He was looking forward to Tank Davis and fucking Burchelt and Corrales or Castillo or whoever that other champion was at 130 pounds. That's what he was doing, calling out world champions. But the only guy willing to fight him was fucking Rigo. So they fought. And then people said, oh, we pulled him up 2 weight divisions. Even though this was the same Lomachenko that offered to fight Rigo at 124 with a rehydration clause when Rigo was at 122 and Lomachenko was the 126 champion after beating, Gary Russell. But people ignore that and act like it never happened, right? People are so fucking dishonest. Carlos, he can start by signing with someone else first and foremost. Yeah, that's probably the first thing he does. He's got his own promoter, so he's good there. Now just start working with Turki Al-Sheikh, who's just going to put you in tough, so maybe you don't want to do that. Tszyu will need some time out, a couple of tune-ups, and maybe he can come back. Exactly. That's probably what's best for him. The turkey bag looks good right about now. Inoue needs to fight MJ or Nakatani. Why did he fight TJ Dahoney and now Sam Goodman? Sam Goodman is his fucking mandatory. See, Again, JA, you expose yourself for not knowing fucking anything about boxing. Sam Goodman has a fucking win just as good as anything that Junto Nakatani or MJ has at 122 pounds. Maybe you forgot Risa Lim. Risa Lim was the boogeyman at 122, right? But who beat him? Fucking Sam Goodman. Sam Goodman beat him, and now he's unified in 2 sanctioning bodies. But then people don't like him because he doesn't fit a narrative, right? And why did he fight TJ Dohoney? Because he had to stay busy. Sam Goodman fucking put off the fight. And why not fight Dohoney? Dohoney was an ex-world champion. Hard puncher, had won 4 or 5 fights in Japan in recent times. So is a name commodity in the market. So why not fight him? Right? It wasn't on pay-per-view. Japanese fans didn't have to pay $90 to watch him fight him. Not like fucking Tank Davis fighting Lamont Roach. Nakatani gets shit on because they don't know who he beat. Yet Boots is the next best thing. Exactly. I love Boots. But fucking these guys just exposed their fucking American-centric fucking mentality. If you're American, we're going to defend everything you do. If you're not American and I don't know you and I'm ignorant because I'm not really a hardcore fan, and it's okay if you're not a hardcore fan. But if that's the case, shut up. Listen. 78 picked Rigo to beat Loma. I remember. Not just him. Fucking they all did. Fucking these guys were saying that Rigo was going to break his jaw. Was way too skilled. Fannin, Dante's Boxing Nation. They literally all picked fucking Rigo, knowing he was jumping up 2 weight divisions. And yet, after the fact, they don't want to give Lomachenko credit. And Rigo pulled a Duran and pulled a Nomas. Yet he fucking was off the hook for fucking doing what Duran got ridiculed for fucking a decade for doing. I just find it weird that JB downgrades Latinos when his wife is Latina. That's crazy, right? You would think one would have respect for their spouse's culture. You would think. But he's so fucking racially focused that he must be able to justify it somehow. It's like me dating a Taiwanese girl, but hating on fucking Chinese and Asians. Right? It would be fucking ignorant. Loma gets a lot of unnecessary hate in the YTBC. Way too much hate. This is why I struggle with having Tank on my pound for pound. Yes, he's undefeated, but I think Benavidez has better wins than him. Well, we got to put it in perspective. He fought a Plant coming off of a knockout loss to Canelo. So was that really a great win at that point? And then he beat Demetrius Andrade, who never beat anyone at 168 and never fought a world champion. So is he really better than Frank Martin or Petraza or Leo Santa Cruz? Right? In truth, David Benavidez's resume is garbage. But people that hate on Canelo fanboy him as if he's really done something. The dude's done nothing. He could have unified against Morrell last year. He could have unified with Plant fucking a few years ago, before Canelo was even at the weight division. He could have fought Zerto. He could have fought Smith. He could have fought all these dudes. He didn't do shit. I'd like to see Inoue versus Casemiro next year. That fight might happen, right? Because they might think it's a fight that sells in the U.S. But Casemiro's a fucking dumbass who doesn't even deserve the fight. I like the MJ versus Inoue scrap. Me too. I would love that fight. I think it's probably the best fight against anyone at 122. Obviously, Junto is coming up, so he doesn't fall into that situation. I think he's better than MJ, but I think MJ is the best opponent you could fight at 122. MJ was on that table. Inoue chose to fight Dohoney instead. No, it wasn't that simple. It wasn't on the table. So Inoue needs to go fight in fucking England on an Anthony Joshua undercard. Why? Why does he need to go to fucking fight MJ in the UK? Right? Like if this was Floyd, Tank Davis, or some other fucking American fighter, you would never expect them to do that. But Inoue's got to do that? Why? Inoue makes shitloads of cash in Japan. The fan base fucking worships him. Why does he need to go to fucking England to fight on the undercard of Anthony Joshua to fight MJ? He don't need to. MJ want the fight? Get your ass to fucking Japan. In his feelings, bad. Always in his feelings. Nick Ball versus Inoue. Come get it, Chinaman. Well, that's not nice. Yes, he's Japanese. I think that's a great fight, but that fight doesn't have to happen until the end of 2025. Nick Ball can maybe unify, do something, prove that he's the best in the division, because at this point, he hasn't proven that. Sounds like you're one in his feelings. I don't even pay attention to your boxing opinion. Yet Rachel Donaire is unzipping 78 right now. I never seen anything like it. I don't understand that. I get Morrell knocking out Benavidez in 4 rounds. Morrell gonna beat Bakram 2.0. I agree with you. I totally think Morrell is gonna fucking spark fucking David Benavidez. Wow, Sean, didn't expect that. Greg Sanders, didn't expect what? You give no context to your statement, so I don't know what you're referring to. Sounds like you don't pay attention to facts. Laugh out loud. Get out your feelings, chica. Inoue is Bruce Lee. Well, the Japanese Bruce Lee. The Japanese Bruce Lee. But in saying that, when I think about this fight, I'm really at a dead end to who I think is going to win. Obviously, here it's impressive. You look at world title fights. Inoue's had 23 world title fights, 21 he won by knockout. It's amazing he gets discredited, yet he's got 23 world title fights that he's been in. Right? You can look at Bud Crawford. He has probably less than that. Usyk definitely has less than that. Canelo has more, and Beterbiev has less than that. So the only fighter that has more world title fights and more world title wins with a higher knockout rate, not even a higher knockout rate, Inoue's obviously higher, is Canelo. When we look at Junto, he gets criticized because he hasn't beat anyone, but he's faced 7 world champions. Currently, he's 7-0 with 6 KOs. I mean, when this fight gets talked about, I really don't know who I think is going to win, right? I actually think that Junto training and fighting and sparring in America definitely is beneficial for him, right? Right now, both of them 28-0. Inoue 25 wins by KO, Nakatani 21, but just coming into his own. I think he's going to be better at 122 pounds than he is at 118. I think, this fight is good. And people that hate on Inoue, they might get exactly what they want. If Nakatani beats him, then they could say, see, I told you he was a hype job. He's not better than Bud Crawford. Because that's exactly what fucking would happen. 100%. Tim gets stopped. Do Taiwanese drink beer or other types of drinks? Mostly beer and whiskey. Inoue gets all the praise for beating Fulton because he's a black American. No, he gets praise for beating Fulton because he's a unified fucking champion in Inoue's 4th division. The only people that made it race were Americans. Nobody else was talking about the fact that Fulton was fucking black. Americans were. Black Americans who were picking Fulton to beat Inoue because he was black. Not realizing Fulton went life and death with Figueroa and can't punch for shit. No, because people like me pointed that shit out prior to the fight. It's amazing how people fucking choose to twist narratives that were never real. If Bud doesn't get Canelo next, is he really just hoping for Spence to beat Funduro, or he can get a big payday for a rematch? Well, I think if he becomes undisputed in his 3rd weight division, he's going to get paid really well by Turki Al-Sheikh, regardless of who he fights. Potentially a fight with him and Virgil Ortiz could be that big money fight that he's looking for, and then he could retire. So you fight back from Murtazaliev, you fight the winner of Spence and Funduro, and then you fight Virgil Ortiz. Retire, 3 fights, shitloads of cash, and doing something that's historically great. Inoue has more title fights than Canelo. Really? No, come on, get out. How many does Canelo have? I can't imagine that he has less than 23. Sean, are you a wine type of guy? No. That's my uncle. Can't wait for Inoue versus Junto, biggest fight in Japanese history. I might have to see that fight in person. I would love to see that fight in person if I only fucking knew how to get tickets. Pantera wasn't a good win for Inoue. Pantera was a great win for Inoue. I have Junto 10th on my pound for pound list, but beating guys when you are 5,000 favorites don't move you up. Yeah, but that was just his last mandatory fight. Prior to that, he faced quality opposition. Inoue will be a 6-weight world champion. I don't know about that. He's going to be a 5-weight world champion, and he's went through 6 weight divisions, but obviously didn't win a title at 112. Big Dosser, Nick Ball will be waiting. Hey, man, I think Inoue beats Nick Ball. Nick Ball is tailor-made for Inoue. He brings the fucking pressure. Inoue is a great fucking counter puncher. Look at those counter punches he fucking hit Luis Neri with. Quality fucking short shots. He's going to catch Nick Ball with those short shots, man. And Nick's momentum is just going to get him fucking knocked out, probably inside 6 rounds. Have you seen any great fights? Have you seen any great fights live? Unfortunately, I've never seen any fights live, right? Except, fights in Thailand. But as far as boxing, none. Mayo. I went to see, what is it? What did they used to do? Live something TV. You know, when they used to have not pay-per-view, but it was like pay-per-view, and they would do it at like hotels and stuff, and you'd pay money to get in, and it was like big screen, and everybody's sitting there, and it was like going to the fight live, but obviously you're not in the same city, so you do that. I can't remember what the name was, but it was before pay-per-view. So I saw Leonard versus Hearns 2 in that kind of atmosphere. Ball gets himself KO'd by Inoue. I think so. Yep, Top Rank need to help out the Americans getting tickets for Inoue fights. Co-partner with a travel agency. They can make good business. Something. Because the way I heard they do it, it's like a pool, right? Where you get a number, and then if your number gets called, you get tickets. But because it's in Japanese, whenever I looked online to try to find information, it was fucking near impossible, right? Just because of the language barrier. And it's like, shit, man. I have a friend in Japan. I think if that fight happens, I'm going to have to ask her to get me a ticket, right? Because otherwise, I don't know how I'm going to do it. But maybe she can get me one. But overall, it's too bad for Tszyu. But once again, I kind of thought it was funny earlier today. JB was trying to, of course, push his racial narrative, wondering if Tszyu was going to be hated on because of how embarrassing his loss was compared to how Devin Haney was hated on. But the funny thing is, of course, Tszyu is not going to get hated on as much as Haney. And it has nothing to do with race. It has to do with the fact that guys like JB had Devin Haney number 2 on their pound-for-pound list, above Inoue. And of course, people are going to mock and ridicule fucking him because of this kind of narrative that people push. When you're overhyping a fighter, pushing them above fighters that deserve to be ranked above them based on the fact that they just look like you. When they get beat, people are going to fucking love it. Just like JB literally was fucking loving the fact that Tszyu got beat today. Why was he loving it? Because the white guy got beat. JB, like fucking the LDBC, loves whenever a non-black fighter gets fucking beat up. They fucking love it. But then they get in their feelings when people love a black American getting beat, like Wilder or Spence. What's the difference? Like, if you're going to fucking fanboy fighters getting beat against your favorite fighters, people are going to do the exact same thing, right? And they're going to do it to spite you. And this is really what happens, right? You hate on my fighter for getting beat, so then when one of your fighters get beat, I'm going to fucking mock and ridicule you the same, right? It's tit for tat. But these guys are so sensitive and always trying to fucking be exploitative, right? Nobody had Devin Haney as the best fighter at nobody had Tszyu as the best fighter at 154. Nobody. So him getting beat is not that much of a shock. He's literally coming off of a loss. Devin Haney, people were hyping him up to knock out Ryan Garcia. People thought Ryan Garcia was a mental case, wasn't taking shit serious, was going to be easy work for Devin Haney, only to get his ass beat from pillar to post for some big points in that fight. And that shit sticks to your head, watching him get flatlined again and again and again, because it was so unexpected. Seeing Tszyu get flatlined is not unexpected, because nobody ever rated Tszyu that fucking high. And that's the clear difference. It's not a racial thing. It's a hype thing. I've never been a big fight. Best fighter I've seen live was Harold Brazier. You remember him, Sean? Fuck, you saw Harold Brazier? I love Harold Brazier. Harold Brazier was fucking great. I still remember him fighting Pernell Whitaker. I was happy that he got that big fight because I used to watch him on what? Friday night fights, Tuesday night fights, Thursday night fights, whatever that was. Fucking, I love Harold Brazier. Harold Brazier was great. What was his final record? Like 86 and fucking 11 or something? Brazier was just a fucking greedy fucking lightweight who fought fucking every month, right? You know, he was a throwback fighter. Great fighter. Tim Tszyu's dad wasn't saying, I'm sending my son to go kill him like Bill. Well, Tim Tszyu's dad fucking was saying before the fight he didn't want Tim to fight the Russian fighter. That's why I never stopped mentioning Crawford's fight with Spence fans. They were so disrespectful in the build-up and shit on Crawford for 5 fucking years. 5 fucking years. And now people go, why you keep hating on Errol Spence? Because it played out exactly like we told you for 5 fucking years. You know, and then people act like it's racists that hated on Spence. No, it's fucking Bud Crawford fans who are fucking mocking you because literally you fucking guys hated on Bud Crawford for 5 years, shit on his resume, discredited every fight he had, shit on his pay-per-views, didn't pay for his pay-per-views so you could mock and ridicule him when they didn't do big numbers. So fucking we love it. It's great. JB is a fucking miserable clown. And apparently his wife's hot. So I don't know what's wrong with him. You know, you fucking laying pipe to some hot fucking chica. What's your issue? You make good money fucking in the oil rigs. Why are you such an angry fucking dude? So fucking angry and so racially focused. He's got a father in his life, grew up with a full family and brothers and sisters, big happy family. Yet he's such a miserable fucking prick. I can't imagine. Why? Right? His family life and life sounds perfect, right? You couldn't think of having a better life growing up with a big, happy family, meeting a girl you love, having kids, having a good job that pays you big money. What exactly are you so angry about? I don't get it. What do you think about IBF ordering Arthur Beterbiev to fight Michael Efford next? Yeah, well, that's what we were talking about earlier. That's, I think, why Canelo did pop up in the conversation, maybe because of that fucking stupid William Skull mandatory, right, from the IBF. William Skull, who'd never beaten fucking anyone, deserving a fight with Canelo Alvarez or getting a world title fight, just like fucking this guy, Michael Efford. Like, I pointed out some inaccuracies from Ring IQ today because he was talking about how mandatory is really important and how guys like Beterbiev and Vostik benefited because of it. And I think mandatories are important. If you didn't have mandatories, these PBC fighters would never fight anybody outside the PBC, right? So you definitely need it. But at the same time, like Beterbiev and Vostik, you need to fight multiple fighters to fucking move up the rankings to earn an opportunity. You look at Murtazaliev, right? He was in a similar position, IBF mandatory. Didn't fight any really big names and was sort of held back by the IBF because obviously PBC was paying them off enough money where they didn't feel like they needed to force him into a Charlo fight. But nobody wanted that fight, just like nobody wants these fights. These guys need to go do something. Brazier fought Mayweather and Chavez too. No, he's a great fighter. He lost to the big names, right? But still, very good fighter to watch. You don't pay pay-per-views. You don't go to boxing events. Victor J, what are you talking about? I don't pay for pay-per-views. Obviously, you're a moron because I live in Taiwan. When I'm able to pay, I always fucking pay. I was paying for pay-per-views on DAZN consistently until recently when somehow they changed the way they did things and they won't let me pay. Prior to that, when ESPN fights were all, not pay-per-view fights, all their fights were on that other channel. What was that app that, Lopez fought on, right? But when the fights were all on that app, I paid consistently to watch fucking top-ranked fights on that, right? So I consistently pay for fights when I can. But if these promoters and these networks don't make fights available in Asia, then what do you want me to fucking do? I don't live in America. I don't live in Canada. You don't buy merchandise yet you make money off the sport of boxing with its fans. This is some operation you have going on here. Listen to this dude. How much money you think I make from YouTube? Nobody's even left me a super chat today, and never have I fucking asked for a super chat. Unlike fucking channels you probably support, who consistently fucking have like fucking, advertisements on their fucking video and are consistently asking and saying, I'm not going to start talking about events until I have, 400 people in the live, right? So stop. Stop. You fucking coming off like an idiot that doesn't know shit. JB was never a Bud fan. No, he's a Spence fan. You think the PBC giving the IBF a brown paper bag will get the 170 title to Benavidez a Morel winner? No, I don't think so, because they're going the WBC, WBA route. They're hoping that Beterbiev drops his title to go to cruiserweight so they can inherit the belts. After the Harrison-Mendoza fight, I really thought Tszyu was going to be the next star in boxing. Boy, was I wrong. Well, I mean, coming off of those victories, he was definitely in position. If he would have got that Keith Thurman fight, that would have really elevated him, right? And then if he would have picked his opponents properly, like, the PBC would have probably wanted, then he could have went on to do something until he stepped up to face a legitimate fighter. Follows all LWC narratives, yet he wants to speak against them by shitting on black fighters they don't like. IBF is ordering Opataya to fight Chin Cara, but hopefully we'll get a unification with Billum Smith, Zerto winner instead. Who the fuck is Chin Cara? See, the IBF is terrible. These are the same fucking jackasses that literally stripped Opataya because he didn't immediately fight fucking what's-his-face, the guy he literally beat to win the title. So you beat the man to win the title, and then you got to rematch him. Yet Bivol doesn't get an immediate rematch with Beterbiev. Fucking imagine that. And now you stick this guy, Chin Cara, who nobody's heard of, never fought Triller, but not Triller. It was the other app that was popular, and I think Triller and them ended up combining. Yeah. Drunk Irishman, you allowed Carl to cloud your better judgment. JB wants Ryan Garcia to bone him. He's weird guy. Well, let's hope that's not the case. Because I don't know anybody that want fucking Ryan Garcia fucking anywhere close to you. Tim Tszyu can't perform in America, it seems. Well, yeah, apparently. The funny thing, JB, right? Remember I did a live last week where I was literally shitting on Ryan Garcia and Teofimo Lopez? And then he came out with a video like literally 30 minutes later criticizing me because I haven't made videos shitting on those guys and their racism. Right? Like, you're so fucking, I know you're watching now too. You're so obsessed and so fucking hooked into everything I say. You're just waiting so you could make a video based on my content. Yet, obviously, you didn't listen long enough. Otherwise, you wouldn't have made that video because it made you look like an idiot. IBF sucks. I don't care. Some of these Mandos are mind-boggling. Yeah, it's what I talked about last week. I went on a live and I went through the fucking rankings before I even knew that they were going to fucking do this bullshit with Beterbiev, and went through some of these unknown fucking ranked mandatory fighters that literally nobody in boxing has ever heard of. Yet somehow we're supposed to be happy with this, and somehow it's justified because it's giving fighters an opportunity. What do you mean giving fighters an opportunity? Go fucking beat someone. Have a fucking, what do you call it? What do you have two guys fight and the winner moves on to fight the champion? What do you call those? Fucking, man, why can't I think? Somebody give me a hand. What's that shit called? But like an elimination, right? Or eliminator. There you go. Like, give us a fucking eliminator. Was the IBF this bad when Bob Lee was president? Well, they were fucking worse because he was cashing checks, right? Like right now, you got the same problem with them. Here you are, Fury, Bacoli, Cabial, Fury. Good, right? Nobody's going to complain about the heavyweight rankings. All the top guys are in the top names. Here you got fucking this guy, Hussein Chinkara. I've never fucking heard of him. Literally. I've heard of Michael Chisliak. I've heard of Ryan Rositsky. I've heard of Unarius Dortukis, the Cuban fighter who was a world champion before. But who's this fucking guy, Chinkara? Like, we jump on our box rec right now, and we go to the cruiserweight rankings to see where this fucking clown is ranked and who he's fought. And I guarantee he's not fucking fought anybody with a pulse, right? Literally nobody. But yet somehow this is a fight that's going to be pushed instead of unification. So there we go. We go down. Oh, there he is. He's German. What the fuck is going on with the IBF and fucking these German fighters? You know, this German promoter is paying them off, because how else are these German fighters consistently getting these fucking opportunities? Right, here he is. The dude's 39 fucking years old. 39 years old, 22-0, 18 KOs. Turkish fighter, right? His last fight, he fought fucking some dude, I can't even pronounce his name, who was 18-3. Prior to that, he faced a guy who was 20-10. Prior to that, he faced a guy who was 21-14, right? You go to his fourth fight under that, and he fought a guy, Alan Sands, who was 22-4-1. Easily the best resume on his career. And literally every single dude they fought are Europeans, Eurobums, nobody that's anyone's heard of. His last opponent is some dude that's 18-4 with 9 fucking KOs, knocked out all 4 of his times, fucking German, but from Kosovo, right? A guy who literally was coming off of a win against a great opponent, 5-4, before facing this guy Chinkara and earning a fight for a world title. And this guy fought Billum Smith, right? Got knocked out in 5 rounds. Faced Mastanak, got knocked out in fucking 4 rounds. So at least this guy, this opponent, had been in with people. But the guy that the IBF wants to mandate as a mandatory hasn't beat fucking anybody. Skull, a Cuban based in Germany, something fishy going on. Yeah, man, it's fucking German promoter. The German promoter is doing fucking for these fighters something they didn't do for fucking Golovkin. Out of the 4 major sanctioning bodies, who is the one you like the most? Yes, WBO, fucking 100%. 100%. The WBO is also fishy, right? With their connection, obviously, with top-ranked Bob Arum and Fish Eyes, old Fish Eyes. But above and beyond that, when they mandate an opponent, it actually makes fucking some sense, right? It's a guy that you could justify as a mandatory opponent. And then they're not consistently getting in the fucking ways of Undisputed by pushing some fucking unknown German fighter that no one gives a shit about. This shit is bogus, man. Then we get to light heavyweight. So Bivol, Albert Ramirez, I don't know who that guy is, Michael Efford, Anthony Yard. So let's look at this fucking rankings. Because I already looked at fucking Efford. That guy hasn't beat anyone. He fought a 97-year-old Jean Pascal. That's the best fighter he's faced in his career. Literally a 97-year-old Jean Pascal. Where are we? So here we go. We go down this rankings. Albert Ramirez, what is he? Venezuelan? Fucking Venezuelan. We already talked about this today because that guy John was hyping up, the Cuban fighter, fought a Venezuelan. We know the Venezuelans' rankings are always fucking hype. This kid is 32 years old, 19-0 with 16 KOs. Looks great. But yet if we look at who he fought, he beat Adam Denius in his last fight. That's good. But Adam Denius has already been beaten by fucking Better BF. We go down his rankings, not bad. He fought a guy 17-0, a guy 8-0, a guy 25-9-2, a guy 24-4-1, a guy 15-1, and then Adam Dienes, we stopped in 7 rounds, right? So at least he beat a guy that Better BF has fought before. But the dude's 32 years old, hasn't fought a fucking top 10 opponent. Like, nobody here is a top 10 opponent. So if you haven't fought a top 10 opponent, how are you somehow considered a fucking mandatory? Like, because there's legitimate top names there. You got Anthony Yard, who's ranked below him. Go fight fucking Anthony Yard. You beat him, and then maybe we're going to fucking be hyped about you. But at this point, we're like, who the fuck is this guy? Right? And then you go down to Effort, the German, who's ranked 24 in front of Naji Lopez. I guarantee you Naji Lopez would knock this fucking kid out. And his best win was a unanimous decision against Jean Pascal. Jean Pascal, who currently is 41 fucking years old. Right? It's a good win, I suppose. He beat Marcus Brown by technical decision in 2019, Badu Jack in 2019, fought Fanlin Meng, who was undefeated in 2020, and then faced Effort in 2023. Lost to him by decision, and now he just beat fucking Terry Osias, 13-0, stops him in the 10th round. But beating him justifies you as a mandatory? Come on, man. I like to see Callum Smith versus Yard. Me too. Or Yard Smith versus Boazzi. You can mix these UK fighters together. I think it don't matter. Any of those scenarios are fucking excellent. WBO is fishy. It's kind of like picking the best of the worst. Exactly. Well, that's what it is. Tim looks like his brother Nikita. Best defense is just taking shots to the face. Exactly. Both of those guys, not bad fighters, but let's be fucking real. Defensively, they've always been fucking sieves. They get hit too much. They rely on their power. And are they really that powerful? Is Papachenko Bakram's trainer? I don't think so. I definitely don't think so. But I could be wrong. Because, oh, well, he trains in Oxnard, so I guess he could work with him. His manager is Aegis Klimas, so, yeah, okay. I didn't see the fight today, so I didn't see who's in his corner. And here it doesn't really tell me who his trainer is. Tells me the promoters, the matchmakers. Doesn't tell me his trainer. Tells me the referee. Tells me a lot of shit, but doesn't tell me the information I want to know. So I'm not too sure. Does anybody know the answer to that? Is Papachenko Bakram Murtazaliev's trainer? I mean, I know that when Lomachenko's in the States, he's in Oxnard. So, I mean, they probably work in the same gym. But I don't know if he specifically trains him. I don't know. And where's this other rankings? Let's just scroll down and see what else we got. So, of course, Mimbili, Pacheco, William Skull. Now William Skull is a champion for the IBF title. Hopefully he fights Christian Mimbili next, and Mimbili knocks his ass out. But because Mimbili is going to be his mandatory, it means we have to wait a year before that happens. With middleweight, what do you got? Shiraz, Shane Mosley Jr. Fuck, of course, Laura's mandatory is Shane Mosley, right? Because the PBC figures, oh yeah, name recognition, we could sell that. And then fucking the IBF has who? Itanosa Uliha. I guarantee the kid's from Germany. Nigerian German, must be. Let's check it out. Let's check this shit out. Middleweight. Who's this kid? He ain't even ranked in the top 25 on BoxRec. He's fucking nowhere to be seen. Not in the top 50. What's going on? Come on, man. Itanosa Uliha. The IBF rankings are fucking garbage. Hi, Lily. Oh, he's Mexican. 21-0. Oh, no, sorry, Italian. Mexico, Italian. Same. So African fucking Italian, 21-0, 9 KOs. They don't even have a picture of this guy on BoxRec, right? 26-year-old called fucking El Chapo. When we look at his resume, he beat Alexander Pavlov 21-3 in his last fight. Again, a lot of fucking nobodies on his resume. Who's this guy? Alexander Pavlov. Pavlov's dog. Oh, German. So you know Pavlov was the guy they were trying to push into this position. Unfortunately, he got upset. You can't make this shit up, man. And of course, this kid beat the German, so he's probably in a fucking promotional contract with the German promoter, which is why now he's in this position. This shit's crazy. Where are we? I saw him standing in the ring. Oh, you saw him. Crazy Papachenko was never trainer of the year. Crazy. He's too white. But Tszyu Sr., dad got one for beating his fighter. That Inoue guy is Italian, but is based with the German promoter, Sean. We exposed these mofos. Yeah, there you go. There you go. So this German promoter is fucking paying off the IBF to get these fighters into these mandatory positions. And then the IBF acting like somehow they're the only legitimate sanctioning body in the world. Yet fucking they are just as corrupt, if not more corrupt. They're back to fucking Lee, who got ousted because of how much fucking payola he was getting as the IBF fucking man in charge. What a bunch of bullshit. Bullshit. Fucking again, the fucking Germans. The Germans. Now, Bakram Murtazaliev, Tszyu. We know Abbas Barrow, who is obviously the WBA mandatory at 154 pounds. He is German. But at least I'm familiar with him. I've seen him fight. Welterweight, fucking Karen Chikotnia, the Ukrainian fighter. He must be promoted by that German promoter, right? Must be. Because how did this fucking kid get another opportunity for a fight? Because he's with the German promoter. And then we get to 150, 140, no Germans there. 135, no Germans there. 130, no Germans there. 126, no Germans there, at least none that I see. And then Sam Goodman. Shit's crazy. Do you have Fulton beating Fig in the rematch? I favor Figueroa to beat him in the rematch. I felt that Figueroa beat him the first time around. Outworked him, outlanded him, and just forced his fight. And people praised Fulton because he showed that he could fight that style. But he lost that style. And he didn't fight his style, which is a slick boxer. So he was forced not to fight the way he wanted to fight, forced to fight the way Figueroa wanted to fight, and obviously lost because he wasn't fighting the way that he's good at. So I felt he lost. In the rematch, I favor Figueroa. He's going to come in bigger, stronger. Obviously, this move up to 126 is going to benefit him because he always was real weight drained at 122. For Fulton, he's not a hard puncher. He's going to move up and face bigger fighters. He doesn't have power at 122, so he's going to be like Leo Santa Cruz. He's not going to have power at fucking 126, so he's going to have to really fucking outwork you or be really skilled. But yet we already saw him get outworked by Figueroa at one fight, so I don't see him doing anything different except probably getting fucking knocked out in the rematch. But to be fair, I hope Fulton wins. I hope Fulton wins to become a two-time two-weight world champion, just like Angelo Leo. Maybe they could do that fight in rematch, unification, Fulton, Angelo Leo rematch. I know my man from South Florida would be super happy about that. They could get revenge versus Stephen Fulton. And I would like it because that makes Inoue's victory over Fulton look much better. If he gets flatlined and knocked out by Figueroa, it kind of takes away some of the shine from that fight, right? Then people are going to see, Fulton was never that good. He was not that good. Inoue beat a guy that was overrated. It wasn't really that good. Well, that's not what you guys were saying before the fight, right? I mean, anybody can talk shit after the fight. What were you saying before the fight? I remember. But we've been on for an hour and 40. I think it's about time I take this bitch for a walk. Thanks everyone for jumping in. I appreciate it. Cheers. Enjoy what's left of your weekend. Don't let these Germans take over fucking boxing. The IBF is trying to fucking infiltrate boxing with the Germans. The Germans. So, it is what it is. Obviously, next weekend we have more boxing. Who's fighting next weekend? I can't remember off the top of my head. Does anyone know? Go. Who's it going to be? Any big fights? Where's my phone? I don't think my prediction league would have said yet who next week's fights are. What were my predictions this week? I had Chris Colbert getting beat by Sevildo. I had the Mongolian kid winning. I had Gamble winning, so 3 for 3 there. Then I had Pagan winning, Karela, Soulball, Wise. Shishkin, I said was going to win by 11th round TKO, so I'm wrong there. I had Mbengi beating, what's his face? That other fighter, so I was correct there. I had Azim, Aziz, Abdulev, Tszyu winning. Obviously, I was wrong there. Telez and Tapia winning. So obviously on 2 of the big fights I was wrong, Shishkin and Tszyu. But then I was right on a few other upsets. Obviously Sevildo beating Colbert and Mbengi beating the other guy, the British guy. So, 2 for 2 in close fights, not so bad. Oh, it's the Kittrell versus Prograis fight card. Well, that fight card should be free on DAZN, right? So I should be able to watch that. Let me quickly see what DAZN is saying. Fucking DAZN. They fucking let me down. Broke my heart. Maybe I even canceled my subscription because I was so fucking pissed off with that whole pay-per-view fucking debacle. Even I want to pay and I still can't. I'm like, fuck, man. What are you doing to me? Give me the fights. I will pay. I got a credit card. Money ain't a fucking option. Right, Lily? Lily's like, yeah, we were going to pay. Damn fucking right. Don't listen to those crazy motherfuckers in the chat. I definitely think with all the money in DAZN, they could definitely fucking do a better job building this shit up. I'm just saying. Boxing. Rivera versus Beltran. Usyk Fury. Flores Olivia. Ellis versus Chavez. Catrell versus Prograis. There we are. October 27th. And then Schofield versus Giron is going to be November 3rd. Pagan Rhodes, that was today. So that's not so bad. I don't know who's on the undercard. I figure Catrell's going to win too, and that's going to upset some people. Why do I need to scan the QR code? See, this is, again, the problem that I have with these fuckers. I have the app. Why are you making me do this shit? Right? It's infuriating, frustrating. Why do I need to scan a code to fucking re-sign up when I'm already signed up on a fucking TV? See, and all it does is what? This shit. Make me re-sign in again. Why I need to re-sign in again when I'm already fucking re-signed? Frustrating. Aggravating. And then that clown earlier said that I don't pay for boxing. I just take advantage. No, that's the fucking LDBC. People that literally fucking are exploiting boxing to make money by pushing racial agenda. Right, Lily? You tell them. Say, fuck yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And then you give me this screen, which is fucking blank. It's some bullshit. I will say that. But thanks for jumping in, everyone. I will see you later. Peace.